Good morning to you. A lot to get to here on the Morning News. It's Thursday, March 18th. I'm Ted Payton.
And I'm Margaret Ann Carter, along with Chief Meteorologist Kendra Kent here, joining us this morning, along with meteorologist Nicole Pape, Kylie Miller, and traffic reporter Chris Scott, all in the building. And we have a lot to get into this morning as we prepare for that severe weather that's already making its way into our area. Our weather team has been working very hard gathering the latest information to keep everybody out there safe and informed.
That's right. And at least the storms in Georgia right now are not severe, not yet, but they could be later on this morning. So let's take a look at that updated risk across the region, because we're looking at the slight risk across the central part of our area around the 85 corridor. And then we have a higher risk as we go down toward the southeast. So that's going to be the bigger issue later this afternoon as those storms really get going. We're going to see them become much more tornado prone and damaging wind prone as they slide off toward the south and east. But this is that corridor of uncertainty, if you will. There's going to be some stable air in place, but still a lot of dynamics that could produce a tornado or some damaging wind. So we'll want to be on guard throughout this morning into the early afternoon. We've got a fresh timeline for you here coming up in just a second. Here's a look at the latest radar, though. Look at that. We've got a cluster of thunderstorms right now in Clemson. I'm going to walk off here and do a quick zoom on those too, because this is really some of the first thunder that we've heard in the area this morning. So we'll be watching this storm. Most of this is what we would call elevated thunder at this point, but we still have the potential for it to transition to the ground and become severe, bringing strong surface wind and even the potential for a tornado. But right now, looks like mostly just some heavy rain, some rumbles of thunder out there, and that's all going to be transitioning off toward the east. You can see here actually kind of a northeasterly movement with this. I'll put a fresh storm track on it as it continues to move toward areas like Easley and ultimately toward Greenville. Easley be arriving for you in the next 15 to 20 minutes. But again, not severe, and you can see we've got more activity out to the west. There is that timeline right now. It looks like the center part of our area, 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. will bring the greatest risk for spots like Greenville, Anderson, Asheville, Spartanburg, and spots like Abbeville, and then a little later for our eastern counties. Let's head on over to Nicole and Kylie for an update on those threats.
Yeah, we are continuing to watch all of this, Kendra, because it's been today that we've been talking about all week so far. The storm that has a history of tornado activity far to the south and west. We've been watching closely for our own risks.
Yeah, so that was the Mississippi and Alabama overnight, even into the early hours this morning. For us, the main threat is going to be those winds. Winds could gust over 50 miles per hour. That is strong enough to do damage to trees, power lines. Power outages is something that we are monitoring very closely, along with flying debris just in general with very strong winds.
Yeah, exactly. The tree branches could come down. We could see power issues. Can't rule out the tornado threats. As we see lines of storms develop throughout the day, it's possible we could see brief spin-up tornadoes. They shouldn't be long-lived. We tend to not see the long-lasting tornadoes here, but it's enough to cause damage. We saw that last year in the springtime. It's possible today. Hail and flooding, both a slightly lower level, but we've seen enough rain that we could get ponding on roads and some small stream and creek issues.
Yeah, right now we're dealing with some of that ponding. So when we add in some more moisture from these storms that do get going, especially into the 10, 11, 12 o'clock time frame, we will continue to see that ponding threat elevated a little bit more. On top of that, here is a look at 10 a.m. Already starting to see that these showers and storms really starting to flare up. And that's just because our conditions will be a little bit more favorable at this time frame.
Yeah, the temperatures start to warm up. It helps to fuel the atmosphere. So from 10 a.m. to noon, we put this into motion, and you see even more of a significant line coming through the central upstate. That's that 11 a.m. to 1 or 2 p.m. time frame Kendra was just talking about. And it will shift eastward. And the farther east it goes, some of the stronger storms will start to set up. So we're going to watch this very, very closely and see a lot of it go forward over the next few hours. There will be some improvement end of the day into tomorrow. We'll talk about that in a moment too. But first, let's get a check of the road conditions with Chris.